Oh, hello. My name's Doris, and I've just come back from the garden centre, and I saw this podcast, The Science Shed, and I thought I would listen to it, but I was wondering whether you could tell me a bit more about what it is.
Hi, Doris. Well, welcome to The Science Shed. It's an irreverent ramble through the undergrowth of academia with two academic scientists, me, Stephen Lee, and Nick Evans.
What's an academic scientist doing then?
Well, we work at universities. I work at the University of Cambridge, and Nick works at the University of Southampton. And we just kind of come together once every 2 weeks to kind of discuss interesting things we found that relate to science.
Well, I do like science when I see it on the television with that Ryan Cox fellow, so I could quite happily listen.
Well, let's do it, Doris.
Okay, well, I will.
Science Shed! We're in the Science Shed! Science Shed! We're in the Science Shed! Come on, Steve.
Bunsen.
Burner!
Dolly.
Machine!
Internal.
Combustion!
Why do we need
Steam!
Petri?
Dishes!
Oscar.
Base!
Isaac.
Newton!
Transplanting.
Science!
Nick,
Hello, Steve.
another podcast.
Wicked.
Yeah, how you doing?
Oh, not so
We haven't
bad.
seen each other for a while, have we?
We haven't.
We did a couple. We got 2 podcasts out of 1 meeting.
We did. We've got a little bit of comedy gold left in our lockers
Right.
for future podcasts.
Just in reserve if we need to.
Yeah.
Just to deploy at will. You know,
Absolutely.
like how the US has like a arsenal of like 10,000 nuclear warheads or something. We're like that,
We
but
are.
but the scientific podcasting equivalent.
But more destructive, I think. So it's good to be here. I've got a lot of interesting things to talk about today.
You actually thought about them.
You've
huh?
been doing some stuff, haven't you? You've
I've
been away.
I've been a lot. I've been away. I was in New York for a couple of days, and then from there I flew to North Carolina, saw a bear, and then I came back. I was at a conference earlier this week.
A
and
bear's tolerated in North Carolina. There's a lot of them in San Francisco. I've got a couple of good friends who are bears.
different. I think a different kind of bear.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Oh, I see.
Yeah,
Animal bears.
Exactly.
Ah, you look
Right.
quite bearish, actually, Steve.
Thanks, Nick.
Oh, you wouldn't stand a chance if you went to the Castro.
I've been to the
They'd
Castro
eat
with you.
up. Yeah, but you didn't have a beard then.
That's
You
true, I
weren't
didn't.
bear-like. Now you're bear-like. They'd make mincemeat out of you. How about the North Carolinian bear?
It was good. We saw it. Went to Grandfather Mountain, which is like this big hill in the middle of nowhere in North Carolina, and just were walking about and saw a bear.
Great.
It's a good story, huh?
Barely believable. All right, well, why don't we get on and chat about it and find out what you're doing in New York?
Brill.
Steve, do you remember we had a conversation not so long ago about scientists being strange people?
Yeah, we've had that a few times.
I've got a story happened to me this week.
About science being strange, but
It kind of encapsulated the whole thing.
Oh, good. Let's talk about that then.
So I was in I've got some new, it's the time of the year, October, new research students are starting.
Yep. New undergraduate students are starting.
New victims.
New victims.
Yeah, lambs to the slaughter.
Exactly.
So they
Lab
came.
monkeys.
Pardon?
Lab monkeys arriving.
Lab monkeys, yeah.
But they're more of a hindrance than they are of actually useful for when they first arrive. They're just breaking stuff and they take ages and they take up other people's time.
Yeah, but they get useful.
They do eventually.
And
yeah.
they're
worth
fun to
investing
have
in.
around.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I like them. I love all of you guys. Anyway, so we were in the lab and one of my other students was training,
Yeah.
showing one of the other ones how to do something.
Okay.
And I went in the lab because I thought I need to supervise
Yeah.
this. Okay, felt responsible. So I was in a lab that I don't normally go in a lab. My lab is in the hospital in Southampton, near the hospital,
Right.
which is about 1.5 miles away from the main place where the university is.
Okay.
And that's where there's some other biology labs there. So I was in the labs that I'm not comfortable in.
Right.
Okay.
So you don't know where anything was.
Well, no, I was just sort of hanging around like
Just
a kind of
like-
I might as well have.
Do you have a lab coat on? Come on, paint the picture.
Okay,
what are these
well,
labs like?
The lab coat is kind of part of the story.
Okay, all right, good. So generally, just lab coat aside, do you guys wear a lab coat normally in the lab?
In that one, you have to.
Right.
And goggles all the time.
What kind of lab is it?
It's just a biology lab.
Right. Okay, so
It's
why-
over. Look, dude, it's total overkill.
Right.
But I'm not there to make the rules.
That's
I'm
right.
there to obey the rules.
That's right. Okay, so you're there. Okay. So tell
I
me.
just obeyed some of the rules. Anyway, what happened was I was in the lab and I was trying to just be, out of the way.
Yeah.
Just so that, genuinely interested but observing and
Yeah.
making sure that they understood things. I wanted to make sure of that.
So these are all the new students.
There's just one student, my other student and me.
Yeah.
We're training this other student. So you have to put on a lab coat. So they said, you have to get a lab coat off these pegs here.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all initialed. And I took them off the lab that I'm in, the peg. I thought, anyway. And I was wearing the lab coat and I had my goggles on. And I was just...
Nick's looking really sheepish.
I was observing. I was observing what was going on in the experiment.
Yeah.
And my mind's wandered. Sort of standing there with my hands in my pockets going, look, it's nice. Look at the wall. Very clean in here. Oh, look at that. There's an interesting machine. Just sort of generally
So
potting.
this is you imparting your knowledge to the next generation of.
Well,
future
no, my student was
scientists.
doing it, and I was making sure he was doing it correctly.
Right, okay. But while you were doing that, you were multitasking in this
I was
little
just sort of
daydream.
you're daydreaming.
Yeah.
And I sort of looked around at the bench behind me.
Yeah.
Because in this lab, it's a big, long room, and you may have seen on telly, you've got benches, one after the other,
Yeah.
all lined up, going up the room, off into the distance.
Like in
The horizon.
like in Indiana Jones when they put the Ark of the Covenant away.
Yeah, except a lab.
Yeah.
And so we were at one of these benches, and we were in between two benches. And I sort of looked around me, and I noticed this bench, and it was very tidy. And I thought, isn't that a tidy bench? That's very nice. And I looked down, and there was some pipettes underneath the bench, all lined up in little plastic boxes. Like you'd have in IKEA.
Pipette tips or
No, they were pipettes.
the
So
glass pipettes.
you have a long. You can fit 10 milliliters
Yeah.
in it. So what's that? 2 dessert spoons or something.
Yeah, I suppose
Something like that.
10 grams of water.
Yeah,
Everyone
yeah.
knows what 10 milliliters
So
is.
it's a long
It's
tube,
about the same as when you get those little sachets of tomato ketchup. It's about that much.
but it's a tube, plastic tube, and it fits in what we call a gun, which is just a mechanical sucker.
Yeah. So when
you
people
stick it in
think of biologists pipetting
Yeah.
brightly colored fluid from one thing to another.
But it's a long thing.
Right.
Anyway, I looked around and I saw some of those, and I thought, oh, look at those. Those pipettes, I used those when I was doing my PhD, and I've not seen one since.
Right.
I haven't seen one since 2003. Oh, look at its pretty. Oh, my memories are flooding back.
Right.
Look at its little
So you were
orange
just
tip.
reminiscing.
I was thinking, look at that
you were
pipette.
flying back to you.
And I was like, I didn't think
In
they still made them.
2003.
It's like if you were in a shop and you saw, I don't know, a chocolate bar. Like if you're in that period
Saw
when
some Tab Clear or something.
yeah, you'd be like, oh my god, look at that. It's like
Yeah.
you see a whisper after they
Yeah.
finish making whispers. You'd be like, oh my god, they still make. I've not seen a whisper.
Right. So
I had a similar thing when I was in Spain once with Lynx deodorant. Because I used to, when I was an adolescent, there was something called Lynx Musk.
I always
Do you
used to
remember
go
Lynx Musk?
I always went for Oriental. That was my
Oh
favourite
yeah,
one.
yeah. Well, they don't have that anymore.
They don't know, but when you
What
see
would you
that,
do? If
I
you-
would get really
Yeah,
excited.
yeah. So I saw like a Lynx. I was like, oh my god, look at that. Anyway, so I see this pipette.
Yeah.
I think I'll have a closer look at that.
Yeah.
So I take it out and I'm just sort of, I hold it in front of my face and I'm looking at the shape of the pipette and I'm looking at the orangeness of the end and the manufacturer and thinking, oh, these are superior pipettes to the current pipettes. And as I'm doing that, contemplating it in a state of calm, peaceful tranquility, an arm comes in front of my face, snatches it out of my hand in an angry anger, and I hear this like that.
Wow.
Some other dude from the lab has come from behind me and snatched the pipette out of my hand because it's his pipette in his little IKEA box.
So he was being very fastidious. He was lining everything up, ready for his experiments, and you just came over like the oaf you are, put your big, sweaty, dirty hand in and ruined his experiments.
No,
That's-
I just it was just in the shelf, like not doing anything. But I was surprised at the anger that was
So
directed.
who was this guy?
Well, I
presume
don't
it
think
was-
we
it
need
was-
to get
it
into
was-
that.
okay.
But I mean, it was some other guy in the lab,
Right.
who had.
But he was a PhD student, or
Let's not go into the
Okay,
details.
all right.
But anyway, there's some other dude in the lab, and I wasn't familiar with the lab.
Yeah.
And I wasn't familiar with the personalities. In the
But
lab.
they're a researcher, is what you're saying. They're a
Another
scientist,
researcher
yeah.
snatched out my hand and sort of had a go at me
Wow.
in a kind of sort of
Did
you
feel-
know that
did you
kind
feel
of
like told
you
off?
know that kind of socially incompetent kind of way, not kind of looking at you at the eyes, but sort of at your chin and your shoulder, and
Yeah.
twitching a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just went, oh,
Did you really
I said,
scared?
I'm really sorry. So my natural reaction wasn't me to go, what are you
It
doing?
never is.
I was
is
just
it?
like,
It's never is.
I'm
Was it
really
one-
sorry about it.
was it
And you
one
know
of-
what happened then?
Oh, yeah.
I was like, oh, sorry, I didn't, it's just it's a pipette I hadn't seen.
Please, sir.
Yeah.
I'm so
and then
sorry.
he went, and you're wearing the wrong lab coat. And I thought, no, I got this lab coat. No, and I was like, no, I got it off the peg. It was
Uh-huh.
off the peg. And he's like, like that. And I just sort of, I thought I'll leave it there. He turned his back to me.
Yeah.
So I shuffled off and I realised I'd got the lab coat off the wrong peg. The initials were similar but not identical, and
Wow.
they'd taken off the wrong peg, and I was wearing his student's lab coat. So I was like totally. And you know what? I was shaken up.
I bet. Was it one of those things
I was
that, like,
emotionally affected by it.
afterwards, were you like one of those things that like you thought up all of the things you wish you would have said in the moment, but an hour too late?
In retrospect, actually, I think my reaction was totally like the right reaction.
Right, just to
Because I didn't want to escalate the
should
situation.
have done, Nick. Should have just detonated that motherfucker.
But I think there's sometimes when you have to just accept that other people are nuts.
Wow. So weird scientists again.
Yeah,
Personality.
You ever been told off in that manner in a lab? Because you're quite a dirty, clumsy person in the laboratory.
Do you know what? I haven't broken much. I've broken something spectacularly once.
Was it your PhD student's head?
No, it was okay. So I'll paint the picture. So this was when I was an undergrad. No, when I was an undergraduate, I was doing my final year project, which was in an inorganic chemistry lab. So I was doing synthesis, and what I was doing is I was just trying to dry something out, and we had it in a desiccator. So a desiccator, for people that don't know, is just a big glass jar that you can suck the air out of.
Yeah,
and so that
dry it all out.
then dry it. You
Dry
can
it.
dry out your compounds, but
It's like a hairdryer, except more technical.
no. It's a big heavy bit of glass.
It's a
right?
vacuum thingy, is it?
Yeah.
Why don't you just use a hairdryer?
Because the hairdryer, like, you don't want to heat it necessarily because you'll do some chemistry if you heat it up.
A cold hairdryer
A cold hairdryer
to desiccate something.
Yeah. No, I don't want to. I'm not. Anyway. Thanks for telling me how to do chemistry. So I'm carrying it along, right? And it's got this kind of like lid, which is kind of really heavy. It probably weighs, I don't know, 3 or 4 kilos. It's
Oh,
made
I
of
know
glass.
these things. Yeah. I've often worried about.
And they've got
dropping those.
like a they normally have like like a grease seal on top.
Yeah.
So I'm carrying it along with my compound in, and so I'm holding it with both hands because I don't want to drop it, right? Because it's
You're
really
being really
heavy.
careful.
I'm being careful.
Yeah.
And the top starts to slide off, right? And so it's slowly going, but I've got both hands on it, and it's heavy enough that you can't really support it with one hand quickly. So it's sliding, and like in my head, I was like, do you know what you'll do, Steve? This is like, as it slides off, I'll like catch it on the insole of my foot, like a kind of Brazilian football player.
But it weighs
like,
it's heavy.
well, that's what I thought. So I was like, but this is all I can do. I'm in the moment, Nick. What am I going to do? How am I going to do damage control?
Put
here
it
to
down.
Stop it smashing.
Put it down on a surface.
So anyway, it slides off. It drops. I go to like grab it with my foot. What I actually do is just drop kick it across the lab, and it just hits a wall and smashes into like a million bits. And then I was just like panicked because you're young, you don't know what's going on. And then I looked over and to my right, and there was a PhD student who'd seen the whole thing. But from her point of view, all that happened is I just drop kicked a bit of glass across the lab.
Oh my god.
So
Do you get angry about things like that, or do you just take it in your stride?
you got to laugh.
Oh my god!
It's like when you fall over.
Do you ever get really irate
No,
when you think?
I get
there's no-
frustrated with myself.
You know, when
sometimes.
you're in the house by yourself and something happens, like you do that, you
Yeah.
drop something on the floor.
Yeah.
Do you ever like go? Do you ever do that?
No, I don't.
See,
No.
I've
You do?
got a certain
You got this-
personality that does
you
that.
just go
Yeah, I've got some passion in me. I don't know where it's. I've got some Mediterranean blood.
Some people might say passion.
Most of the time, I bury it really deeply,
waiting
that
for a massive heart attack
So
at
it gives
35 or
me
something,
like
yeah.
personality problems. But I do that, but I remember it makes me laugh when other people do that. It's a kind of Basil Fawlty thing, isn't
Absolutely.
it? You know, bashing the car with a stick.
Well, you get pushed and pushed and pushed, and then you break.
So there was a moment. So I was working in this new lab when I was at Imperial College in London, working as a postdoc, and I was in this room, but all of the rooms had quite thin walls.
Okay.
And because of the air conditioning, the ceiling, once you get to the top of a wall, it's just empty space to the next room.
Right. So they're not
So if you-
really walls; they're just kind of dividers.
Yeah,
kind
so
of
you
thing.
get this false sense of privacy.
So everyone can hear you, but you think they can't.
So I was in this one lab, and this guy, who I won't name, was in one of the other other labs, and
Yeah.
I don't know what he was doing. He was like a chemistry dude, and I was a biologist dude. But I was just sort of pootling around, I don't know, fishing some cells out of the nitrogen or something. And I heard this sort of clatter from the next room.
Yeah.
And there was this one-person dialogue that started. Oh, well, that's just great. Oh, yeah, great. That is just fantastic. Oh, yeah, you're brilliant. Oh, yeah, great. Great, like that. So I was just sitting there sort of like laughing to myself.
Yeah.
But I thought he might be with someone. So I went down a quick look by himself.
Just totally.
Just talking to
Just
him.
like, right. Well,
Having a conversation with like a retort stand
it's
or
not.
something.
Yeah, it's not probably not a good thing that people in that environment, when they're surrounded by lots of explosive materials, can feel that way. Anyway,
Oh, there you go.
good. Nick,
Hey, Steve.
how you doing?
I'm all right. I feel a bit refreshed after that cuppa.
You just had a couple. It's good, isn't it?
Served from a teacup by Eileen
It's
Gentleman.
quite a posh teacup, wasn't
King's
it?
College.
I was a bit worried I was going to break it.
It was a posh teacup. She likes nice things, Eileen. She once bought me. She came to visit my house.
Yeah.
With her husband Holger, and they bought me a fantastic set of 4 egg cups
Wow.
in the various different animals. There's like an otter. It's an otter with a divot taken out of its head where you put the egg.
In, right.
And there's a duck and a couple of other ones. I can't remember what they were. Similar kind of friendly animals of the English hedgerows.
Right.
That sort of thing.
The thing that posh people would like to
I
shoot.
use them as well.
You actually use them.
Put an egg cup in.
I once bought an egg
Put an
cup
egg in 'em.
in Menlo Park when we lived in America,
Why did you do that, Steve?
and they asked me what I was going to use it for.
Was it called an egg cup in the shop?
It was like a kind of the canonical example of an egg cup. It wasn't a novelty egg cup. There was no badger. It was just literally. I was
It's
like,
like-
it looked like as you'd imagine in your mind an egg
So
cup.
I'm
and I went
imagining like
just,
a sort of
just one.
slight stem and then a cup
Exactly,
at the end.
white porcelain, And I went to the thing and I needed an egg cup, and I went and paid for it, and the person like looked at it and then looked at me and went, "What are you going to use that for?" And I felt,
Did you answer in a kind of in a way which
I,
would
I was a little bit up. You know when you get like a bit.
Facetious.
No, it wasn't. I was kind
you
of
say? I think I would most likely boil an egg in it, as it is called an egg cup.
I was a bit defensive. Like sometimes when you like.
What are you saying? What are you saying? Hey, no, I'm going to put an egg in it. I'm not cooking meth.
Exactly.
What are you going to use it for?
Yeah, it's weird. Anyway,
It reminds me when I bought bloody what they call Sudafed. I bought some Sudafed in America.
oh, because it's got pseudoephedrine in it.
Bought Sudafed.
People make
That's what it is. Yeah, I bought
Yeah.
some Sudafed, and they wanted my name and my address.
because people.
And you can only sell you a packet because they cook meth using
Yeah.
Sudafed.
Yeah.
Don't know that in England. Why don't we have a meth problem in England? People don't have meth.
We're too busy getting drunk, I think.
Is that what it is?
I reckon. Yeah.
But you can get drunk in America as well.
Not
Maybe
as easily.
It's less pleasurable, isn't
Yeah,
it? Beer's
exactly.
Piss.
And just culturally, it's not as acceptable. It's much easier to be a crackhead
A meth head.
than to have a beer outside in a park.
Oh, that's true, isn't it? They don't let you
Yeah.
drink outside. God.
So I was in New York.
And they've elected Trump.
I know,
Bunch of idiots. Eileen, you come from a race of idiots.
but thanks for the cup of tea, Eileen.
Yeah,
So
delicious
I was
tea.
in the land of the
Delicious
free the other week. Right, I was in
Good
New
job.
York, and a couple of things happened. And I just wanted to get your opinion on it.
Oh, I'm interested.
So they're kind of science related. So I was there for a science reason. And we were visiting some of our funders. But anyway, two things happened to me. So one is that I
Who are your
realised
funders? You weren't in Trump Tower, were you?
weren't in Trump Tower, but it was at the World Trade Center. So the meeting was at
Yeah, it's not far away then.
was at the National Academy of Sciences in New York, which is
that's
number
cool.
7 World Trade Center,
Is
which
it
is like the
really?
little one next.
Oh, I
next
didn't
to
know
it.
that's where it was.
Yeah, it's incredible building.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they do. Apparently they sell this in the UK, right? But I was at the airport. I'm going through. I was late, as I'm
Yeah,
always late.
yeah.
Buy a bottle of water, and I bought smart water.
What's annoying Nick?
What the?
Yeah.
What is?
So it was the only water
so
they had. I was like,
distilled.
fine.
Is that distilled water?
It's this is what. So I wrote this down because I was like, oh, Nick will like this, right? So it says vapor distilled water with added electrolytes for taste.
vapor distilled water.
I was like, how can you distill water from any other
And then they
state
add
of matter?
electrolytes. So you boil.
Well, there's a reason, because if you didn't add electrolytes, it would kill you. Because basically you'd just be drinking deionized water.
That's fine. That's not going to kill you drinking
Of course
deionized
it will.
water.
So it's going to take all of the minerals out of your body.
Dude, no, it would not. You're not
Totally
going
would.
Deionized water will not kill you.
Well, like, depends how much you drink of it,
Well,
obviously.
if you drank a fucking gallons
Well,
and gallons
I
of it,
bought
you
a
might
litre.
get. You will not die from drinking distilled water.
So tell me what happens to the position of equilibrium when you take all of the...
Well, number one, in normal water, there's hardly any solutes in it. The molarity of
in
it
your-
is vanishingly small.
in your body. So it's milligrams per litre, right? It's typically the amount of, like, magnesium or calcium or something.
So compared with, let's say, Lucozade Sport,
Yeah.
like water is infinitesimal amounts of dissolved solutes
Sure.
in it.
And so
And
what,
then
what does deionized water do? It dissolves stuff really well. If you take ions out of water...
So does normal water.
What, not as well as DI water?
Yeah, but very, very small amount more.
No, it's completely not true.
Deionized water
The
is not
equilibrium
going to have
constant-
any effect. I would happily drink several pints of water straight from our 8.2 mega ohm
Disagree.
resistive water.
The more you take ions out of water, the more it wants to dissolve it. That's what equilibrium.
Yeah, but that's not going to
constant is.
hurt you.
So all of the
Think about
all of
how-
the minerals you have in your body, what's going to happen
You
when
think
you
they're
have water?
suddenly going to vanish into
That's
your
exactly
into your body?
that's exactly what will
Yeah,
happen.
but you're imagining you're drinking you're drinking distilled water for like 2 weeks, and not having anything else. If you drank normal water, that would not be very good for you.
I don't get your point. But anyway, so
Steve's got haughty now. He's in a mood. I can tell. He's laughing nervously.
so vapor distilled water. So I was like that's gonna annoy Nick. I hadn't seen it. Apparently it exists in the UK, but I've never seen
So
it.
they boil it and then they put some solutes back in it.
Yeah, they put some calcium and some magnesium back in.
Well, that's moderately annoying. More annoying is your ignorance.
It's not ignorance. It's your ignorance of equilibria.
Right, Steve, let's go outside and have a fight.
Anyway, the other thing that happened
Okay.
was I noticed as I was on the airplane,
Right.
like, I'll paint the scene. So I'm on the airplane, just had a glass of wine.
Which
like,
airplane are you on?
Virgin Atlantic,
Ooh,
Yeah.
the disco flight.
the disco
They're
flight.
quite funky, aren't they? Virgin.
Really?
Well, they're kind of more youthful than British Airways.
I think that's
They're funky. They've got funky cartoons.
they have got funky
They have
cartoons,
funky
yeah.
music.
That's
Might
true.
get some funky music.
Um,
Everything. The air hostesses are more down with the kids.
you reckon
It's a bit gangster.
they use
Little bit.
street terms?
Yeah, it's like Club 1830 compared to British Airways. Virgin is.
All right, so I'm on Virgin.
I like Virgin, by the way.
Yeah. And some of us came in.
Oh, we've got some visitors coming in the room.
So I'm on Virgin, and I've had a glass of wine, had something to eat, and I thought I did a bit of work. And I was like, I'll watch a movie, right?
Right.
And I've realised that the past couple of times I've been on an airplane, I get like a little bit like emotional in a way that I don't normally. You know, normally
What are
I'm
you
dead
talking about,
inside.
Steve?
So I had a little moment.
What were you watching?
I can't even remember.
Don't lie to me.
Before.
What were you
so on a
watching?
previous flight, I'll tell you, I watched Inside Out.
Did
right?
that make you cry?
And I got a bit emotional.
Inside Out, isn't that like the BBC
It's a Dis-
magazine show,
no, it's a
local
Disney,
news?
It's a Disney. It's a Pixar movie,
Hey,
right?
you were crying to a Pixar movie.
And then I did it again. So I'm like, I wonder, is that a thing about low pressure that like makes people like emotional in some way? Because I'm pretty dead inside most of the time. You'll testify to that. Like
you're
I'm
a
pretty
bit
emotionless.
Cold. You're a bit cold.
And but twice now, I've done the experiment twice. I've been a little emotional on planes.
See, I'd get emotional anyway. I watched a film called The Straight Story recently. You ever seen
No,
that?
I haven't,
Oh,
no.
it makes me cry every time. It's great.
Blood
It's a
like a
David
little-
Lynch film about
Right.
a guy who travels across America driving a lawnmower
Right.
to visit his brother who's dying.
All right.
Oh, it's very moving.
I'd love. That's exactly
You'd
my up the
enjoy
street.
it.
I should
Not a
definitely
lot
watch
happens.
It. Oh, I like those movies.
And then I've talked before on the podcast about how the end of Babe the Sheep Pig makes me cry. I think the context was making a major discovery. Everyone doubted you.
Everyone doubted that pig.
And then the other thing which I cried to at the weekend, I watched, oh my God, and I'm really ashamed about this, Steve.
Yeah.
I watched Miss Potter,
I don't know what that is.
Renée Zellweger film
Right.
about Beatrix Potter.
Right. Is it awful?
I had a little weep. I didn't think it was awful.
So we need to
I
do a
thought it
control
was quite a
experiment.
nice film.
Next time you're on an airplane, you should like watch something that's deliberately like a bit
Moving.
moving, yeah, and then see if you have a little weep. or whether it's
Terminator
just me.
Genesis, or whatever the last one's called.
Don't. It's so sad, Nick.
I did actually watch that film on a plane. Mainly because I wanted to see the Emilia Clarke bit when she took her clothes off to get in the special time machine.
It's always in the gutter with you, isn't it? It's always in the gutter. I came across this paper, Nick.
Yeah.
It's in the Journal of Physics Special Topics. If you remember, we've had another. This is the
One
second.
of my favourite journals.
The Batman.
Yeah, did
journal.
you get in contact with them?
No, I haven't get.
Oh, you've got to, man.
What should we say?
Just say we
love it.
like
We
your
dig it.
journal. We've chatted about it.
Oh, the journal. You don't mean the authors of the paper?
Oh,
The
I can
Batman
do
paper.
both.
Yeah. So
Could
the
fit as many
journal
emails as
for
you
people
like
that
on it.
may not have listened to all of the Science Shed. What are you doing? Go back and listen to all the other episodes of the Science Shed.
Yeah.
But there was a previous article we had from the Journal of Physics Special Topics, and what this is a kind of pseudo journal made by Leicester University for final year undergraduate physicists as a way of teaching them how to write in a scientific manner, but
Sure.
they get them to pick silly things, right, and actually apply kind of logic and physics to it. And last time, the one worked out the probability of whether you could use Batman's cape to glide off a building.
That was fun. The answer's no, by the way.
Yeah, Batman's descent is rapid, if you remember. This one is called Superman Reverses the Polarity of the Earth's Spin.
Oh my god!
Right, so I'll read you the
So
abstract.
it's a running theme with your superheroes here.
Well,
Batman. And
I think
Superman.
that's a great place to apply physics.
So
let
I
me read you
remember
the
that.
abstract.
I remember that scene. So so there's a scene. I think it's in Superman 1
1978. Yeah.
when Lois, I can't remember. She gets in an earthquake and her car gets squashed in the ground. And
Yeah.
Superman's absolutely
angry.
mortified. So to rewind time, because everyone knows if the Earth spins around the other way, time goes backwards.
Yeah.
He flew really fast the wrong way around the Earth. It turned round, time went backwards, and she was alive again. Is it possible, Steve?
Well, so there's three people here, and I feel like we should read out their names because so B.S. Seamer, B.M. Lloyd, N. Wall, and K. Tassenberg. They all did this for their research. I'll read you the article. It says, the article below describes how fast Superman would have to travel around the Earth's equator in order to cause the Earth to completely reverse its direction of spin in 50 seconds.
You know what? This is great because I'm immediately my first impression is it's stupid. It's obviously there's no speed he can fly at. To
No,
reverse the Earth's
that's not true.
Okay.
So, as was done in the 1978 film, Superman's relativistic mass was required to be at least 13.7 million times his normal mass, and he needed to be traveling very close to the speed of light in order to attain it. Superman's gravitational field is enough to attract near-Earth objects towards falling towards him and the Earth. So what they do is there's a very famous equation written by Einstein that says that your speed is inverse. Sorry, the speed of light is that your velocity.
What are you talking about?
Oh God, the gamma factor, the time dilation is related to how fast you're traveling, right? So this is general relativity. Or specific relativity, I should say.
What's this got to do with him spinning around and attracting the Earth's pull then?
Because the faster you go, they're saying that.
So, hang on a minute. To start with,
Yeah.
Superman is 137 times fatter than he would otherwise be. Is that what we're saying?
137.
I thought that's what you said.
I said 13.7 million.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. So it says in the film,
I've
Superman
not had my
flies around the
Weetabix
Earth just outside the atmosphere. This not only means he does not experience any drag from the atmosphere, so that Superman does not ionize the atmosphere, as well as assuming that he does not damage. He's not damaged in outer space and does not gain charge. Now, the mechanism Superman uses to transfer inertia to the planet will not be investigated in this paper. And since the purpose is to find the required inertia and minimum velocity Superman has to fly at. So basically, they're saying he's got to transfer that energy that the Earth has some inertia because it's rotating and it's heavy, and he's got to counteract that by coupling that energy, but going the other way. So
yeah, but I still don't really understand how that's going to happen. So what you're saying is he gravitationally attracts the surface of the Earth to tug it the other way. It's like a tidal force.
Yeah.
So he exerts a tidal force on the surface of the Earth.
Yeah.
And that slows it down and
Gravitational force,
reverses it. So that takes energy away from the momentum.
Exactly.
Oh, right, okay. He'd probably get, like, Well, number one, he'd get quite dizzy.
Yeah.
Number two, there'd be quite a lot of sort of acceleration force.
Yeah, they do talk about that. So they say modelling Superman as a point mass of 107 kilograms, and then there's a reference to reference one, which is apparently Clark Kent's, the actor that played Clark Kent's weight at that time. At a distance of 100 kilometers, just outside the Earth's atmosphere, off the surface of the Earth, and setting the resultant angular momentum to the negative of Earth, so that the angular momentum provided by Superman is twice the Earth's, he causes the entire reversal of spin.
Oh my goodness! So,
So-
he'd have so you summarise at the start, but
Yeah.
to start with, he'd have to be 3.7 million times heavier than he actually
13
is.
million times, yeah.
13 million times heavier. So would he? How heavy would he be in comparison with the Earth?
So they work it out. So the you'll put me on
Well,
the spot
don't
here. Yeah.
Well, don't worry about it. He
But-
would be very heavy,
Yeah.
and also he would have to go at like 0.9 times the speed of light or something like that.
He goes very. Yeah, I find that exactly. They have to say you have to worry about the moon as well, because the moon gets pulled in if he goes that fast.
Oh well, yeah, that is
Yeah.
a problem.
But the conclusions, he said, in order to achieve the feat of completely reversing the polarity of the spin, Superman had to increase his mass 13.7 million times by travelling extremely close to the speed of light. And whilst there is no danger of the moon being significantly affected by Superman, near-Earth objects will, however, be pulled towards the Earth. Should the transfer of momentum only be limited to the Earth itself and not the atmosphere, heavy winds on Earth will be as a consequence there will be heavy winds as a consequence of the rapid change in Earth's rotation, and the
Crikey.
scale of the winds, almost 3 times the speed of sound, will cause pressure changes too. However, the inertia transfer mechanic itself needs to be investigated in order to determine the exact case.
I think my feeling is that it would be a global catastrophe,
Yeah, exactly.
worse than global warming.
Well, actually say will most likely cause extinction. They
oh
actually said
my
this.
God, Superman!
So do not try this at home.
Superman, I don't like you anymore.
Science shed! We're in the science shed! Science shed! We're in the science shed! Come on, Steve!
Bunsen.
Burner!
Dolly.
Machine!
Internal.
Combustion!
Why do we need
Steam!
Petri?
Dishes!
Oscar.
Space!
Isaac.
Newton!
Transplanting.
Science!
Oh, Steve, that's the end of another one, isn't it?
That's right. It's all
Oh,
over.
it's a shame when that happens, but hey ho.
Don't worry. There's always next time.
There is. I think we've got loads of good things, juicy things happening over the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, if people like the Science Shed and they want to hear more, they should interact with us with social media. We're on Twitter. We're also on SoundCloud.
And we're on YouTube now.
And we're on YouTube. We've got a YouTube channel.
So you can see Steve's big, stupid head.
Thanks, Nick. Well, I think that's a beautiful way to end the podcast, with people thinking about my big, stupid head.
Okay, bye!